For my speech, I chose to talk about the link between poverty and obesity. This is kind of a personal topic for myself because my family and I have experienced this. And I went to three different articles for information. First one being Poverty and Health and Ill Health Physicians Can and Should Make a Difference by various physicians. Second one being Poverty and Obesity in the U.S. by James A. Levine. And lastly, Economics of Food Choice Behavior, Why Poverty and Obesity Are Linked by A. Drunowski. So, lack of funds for healthier food options, lack of funds for gym memberships, or lack of access to park and recreational areas, and the lack of funds for affordable health care, and also the lack of knowledge of healthcare options are all things that feed into the perpetual obesity and poverty linkage. So, the first one, unfortunately, for a lot of people who are in the bracket of poverty, they don't have the money to pay for healthier food options. I'm sure you can see as you go to the grocery store that not only produce, but also the healthier food options that have no additives or organic or more expensive. And along with produce is such a short life item. It lasts about a week and then you're gone and you need more. So it adds up. And in the article by James A. Levine, he states in poverty dense regions, people are in hunger and unable to access affordable, healthy foods, even when funds, meaning the SNAP program, are available. And that's definitely true. My husband and I, we have been on the SNAP program before, and it's only a certain amount for every month. And you have to make it last for that entire month. And unfortunately, sometimes stuff like produce kind of fall to the wayside because it is such a short term item. You don't really want to spend your money buying those things when you can buy other things that last longer for the month. So now you have people not being able to afford the healthy foods. And so what are they buying? So they're buying the items that last longer, that have more preservatives, more additives that last longer, that are unhealthy. And then you also have them choosing the options of fast food because it's unfortunately way cheaper. You can go to Burger King and get 10 chicken nuggets for $1.50. It's pretty cheap, pretty quick and easy meal as well. And so you're not eating healthy. And then to the other point is, not only do you not have money for healthy foods, you don't have money to pay for gym memberships, or you just don't have access to parks. Levine again addressed this problem. He says, similarly, parks and sports facilities are less available to people living in poor counties, and people who live in poverty dense regions may be less able to afford gym membership, sports clothing, and or exercise equipment. And that's definitely true. If you don't have the extra funds for healthy foods, you're definitely not going to have the extra funds to pay for a gym membership. And then another thing that Levine stated was that a lot of these poverty dense regions are in areas with unfortunately a high rate of violence. So you're not really wanting to be outside. And even if you are in an area where there's a park, again, you don't want to be outside, and most likely the park in that area is in not the best condition. And so you now have people not eating healthy and being sedentary. They're not getting out and they're not exercising. And so the third area that feeds into obesity is not being able to afford healthcare, or not knowing how to access that healthcare. I know for my husband and I, we've been fortunate to sometimes be covered under Medicaid, but other times not. And it actually took us a while to, feel like it was okay to approach Medicaid, because it feels like there's like a stigma around it, where if you do Medicaid and SNAP, you're looked down on, because it's like, well, you're not working, which is not true, because my husband and I both work and we're both in school. And so I think a lot of people just don't know how to access Medicaid or Medicare, and it can be kind of confusing. I know even right now we're having to apply for Medicaid, and it's kind of confusing knowing what information they need. They're pretty. So the program's pretty awesome, being how they say, we need this and this, and here's an easy way to do it. But sometimes you need someone else to say, here's how you access this and this. And then another problem too is like, there's a income bracket for Medicaid and Medicare. You have to be able to fit in that bracket. And if you don't, then you have to pay for healthcare out of pocket. And I know at one point my husband and I had to do that, and it was expensive for us. It wasn't like a lot of money, but it was something where we just didn't have enough really to afford it, but we also made too much to be covered under Medicaid. And so for a while there, my husband and I just weren't covered by insurance because we just couldn't afford it. And thankfully, my husband and I are relatively healthy, so it didn't matter. And so, in my opinion, what we need is access to community gardens, or teaching others how to plant their own veggies and some fruits. I know, tomatoes, potatoes, strawberries, berries are easy to grow in your own um, backyard. Or, if you live in an apartment balcony, they're easy to grow. And so I think we need that. And then we also need better upkeep of parks, and maybe more parks in general. Like, there are some that are great parks, but they're just kind of out of the way. Like, you don't have access to them. And so I think one thing that could really help is actually opening up elementary schools, the playgrounds that they have. If we could open up access, after school hours, for people to go there with their kids to play with them, that'd definitely make a difference. And then third, I think we need to have um, the information about Medicaid and Medicare more accessible, more in people's faces, saying, hey, this is all you need to do. Just come in. We need to have, I think we need more doctors to set up more clinics, to where people can go in and maybe just get assessed and um, get basic shots. Like, get assessed, saying, all right, this is the health problems I'm seeing now. This is what you can do on your own to address them. Not necessarily like, yeah, we'll need you to come in, you're going to need this medication. I think it should be like a teaching opportunity where you say, this is what you need to do. So for me, again, this was a personal topic because unfortunately my husband does suffer from it. His genetics are really against him on top of it as well. But it is mostly the fact that basically our whole marriage, we have been students who can't, get that higher wage. And so again, the link between poverty and obesity is that, when you're in the poverty bracket, you're not able to afford healthy foods. You're not able to afford gym memberships or gym clothing, and you don't have access to parks or recreational areas. And then lastly, you just don't have access to affordable health care, or have no knowledge of it.